my biggest trouble with my right-handed circles is him wanting to lean because he wants to look over his left side to see where he's going. And he's gotten a lot better about it. We used to struggle with some actual soundness issues because he would tweak his back trying to see where he was, and he was uncomfortable, so he loped short. So now we got to get him to the point where he can actually run circles comfortably, where I can leave him alone and he can trust my guidance, which he's done a really good job trusting me up till this point. There's also obviously a little bit of a maintenance thing that we have to do there, so every once in a while I'll come out here, I'll run some circles. That's what we're going to do right now. We're going to run some circles and check this. I'm checking this right side right here so he picks up this right shoulder, because I can feel him wanting to kind of look. So now that I've got that, we're going to go ahead and speed him up into that. Now I'm going to speed him up into his face right here. He feels nice and lifted right here, and he's with me. I'm going to go ahead and let him do his thing and see where he gets me. Just kind of elevating a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and leave him alone and see where we go from there. He's still staying with me, but I'm going to go ahead and pick him up and make him run into his face. I like that he's really letting me handle him right here, and he's not leaning at all. He's letting me put him where I want him. I'm going to go ahead and take it up another notch in his speed. Now when I go to slow down, I want to make sure that he doesn't dump this right shoulder on me. And he did. So we're going to go ahead and take a hold of him and move that shoulder out of the way and push his hip over into that. He's not in trouble, he's just reminded. And we're going to go ahead and check that again. Go ahead and speed him back up. He feels better now that he got pulled off, so maybe he needed that for today. A little flatter running when I leave him alone, so he definitely needed that. Speed him up another notch. There we go. Good, he's staying nice and straight. He's not leaning. We should be able to have a better slow down this time around. Nice guide there. Wanting to lock in his circle really good. I'll go ahead and lope another one. Right there, I'll remind him he needs to lope several so I can just put him where I want him. They're perfect. And somewhere in this circle here, I'm just gonna surprise him and change leads on him, which he was good about. So right there, we're gonna soften him up and just let him walk for a second. Now he's locked into work. Now he's really thinking about, okay, we're gonna run and this is fun. He really enjoys his job, so this is something that he really digs. When we start going faster, he was a little distracted by some horses hollering earlier and just being a stud. So now that his brain's focused, we're gonna get a lot more done. Let him catch it for a second and then we'll move on. He's a very sweet horse, as you can tell, just walking around. He just kind of wants to be a good boy, just hanging out, being quiet, calm, enjoying his time out of his stall. We got to try to give him a turnout at least once a week. That's part of our program, but he doesn't really enjoy turnouts. He likes to run and play for about 5 minutes, and then he wants to come back in and go back to work. He'll start calling for you and waiting for you to come back and get him. So I still give him the day off because he doesn't need to be ridden every single day. Sometimes on his days off, I'll just get on him and long jog him or trail ride him because he enjoys to be ridden. So he really enjoys the trail rides and stuff like that just to clear his brain, but he just enjoys the connection, I think. He likes putting his brain to work. He's smart. So not having something to do with his brain is boring for him. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the left and check the left. The left always seems to be easier because obviously he can see where he's going. We usually don't have the same drop of the shoulder. That was a nice lead departure. I'm very happy with that. He's usually pretty soft and easy. Let him kind of lope and be quiet for a second here, and then we'll start speeding him up. We'll take him to a medium speed, and then as long as he's loping good there, we'll speed him back up. It's kind of a fancy loper, so it's fun to lope. When we have patterns where we start out with our first circle being a small, slow, that's a fun one to do because he's such a pretty loper. So now we're going to go ahead and speed him up to a medium circle, see what he's thinking. We're going to go ahead and ask him for a little bit more because he's asking me to, so we'll go ahead and give it to him and let him go. Go ahead and give him a little bit more here and let him really show you what he can do a little bit. Kind of getting away from me right there where he just kind of wants to lean, so we're going to take a hold of him and make him get where he needs to be. We were going to slow down, but now he's got to do another one because he wants to lean a little bit, which is fine. We'll just tell him, hey, get to where you need to go. And now he's like, oh, okay, I'll stay there. Now he's locked into me. And right there, that feels great. So we'll go ahead and slow down right here. And again, we're going to find a spot to change leads. He wants to lean right there a little bit, which is kind of surprising for his left side, but, you know, he's a horse, so we'll go ahead and just say, hey, come here. Good. And we'll go ahead and surprise him with a lead change somewhere here, see how he handles that. He was a little more surprised this way than he was the other way, but he found it and he had no problem finding it. So go ahead and guide him off, soften him up, and let him catch his air this way also. He's a very feely horse. He's very fun to ride. With that feel comes a little bit of wiggliness. Most of the time, our biggest battle on him that's a constant that I have to maintain is just how wiggly he is through his neck and body because he's so feely. Anything that you put on him, he moves away from. So if you pick your hand up, he'll kind of wiggle. He's pretty good now that we've had some riding on him where you pick your hand up and he stays really solid up into his bit and stays straight and lifts his shoulders nice and straight. Go ahead and put his skid boots on while we're waiting for him to air up. On his run a little bit and test that rollback, since that right rollback seems to be our biggest issue. Since that was the part that kind of came back to haunt us in the finals, we're going to just go back and make sure that all that stuff is nice and solid. You can see he is a very trusting horse. I can just come over here on his right side and he doesn't even care that I'm over here or anything like that. We'll walk him around for a minute, let him breathe for a second, and then we'll go ahead and work on his run, check it. One of the things that we had to kind of reteach Sparky was, as for the reining, we like them to come off our feet. So when we push our feet forward, we'd like them to stop and back up. Sparky, not being able to see my feet on this side, he kind of lost a little bit of that feel. So we want to make sure that when I come out here every day, that he remembers that he can back up just off of my feet. And he kind of relies on my left foot, obviously, a little bit of feel on my right side, but for the visual part of it, he relies on my left foot, which kind of had a weird part to it when we first started doing it again, because he would want to move off of my left foot. So when I pushed my feet forward, he would actually move to the right rather than just back up straight. So you feel like, you know, oh, there's only one thing to work on, or you're just getting used to not having the eye, but there's so many components to it that it's just, and it kind of surprised me. And he's such a thinky horse. I think maybe if he wasn't so thinky and so smart, he wouldn't have overanalyzed it as much as he did. But with that said, if he did and he wasn't as smart, then he probably wouldn't have been able to fight through it. But I think he overthought some things, like the run and the rollback. But now he's thinking more with me and letting me think for him instead of being worried and wanting to think for himself, which is a horse natural reaction. That's all of our reactions. We want to think for ourselves. But he's allowing help now, which is awesome. So we're going to go ahead and run some straight lines on him, get that, check our run and see how that is today. We're going to start by just like loping him slow and checking our line, and then when the line feels good, we'll go ahead and speed him up into that, and then when the run feels good, we'll go ahead and ask him to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and break him down right there, because I didn't like how he elevated into that and push into me a little bit right there. So I'll go ahead and lift him back up and make him get where he needs to go. There we go. There we go. So sometimes coming into these corners, he wants to get a little leany or something like that, which is natural for any horse, and it's a maintenance thing. And every reining trainer, every person who shows reining, rides reiners, they know that that's, I mean, every sport has, that's why we come out here and practice. So you don't just make a horse and then, you know, go show them and never ride them. They have to be maintained. They have to remember how to do their jobs. They're athletes and they have to get their sea legs too. So, odd thing is I feel like he leans, in the beginning he leaned more on his right lead to the inside. Now I feel like he leans more on his left lead in the straight lines. Check this here. And he's doing pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and really make him get up into himself a couple times before we really run him. Make him just kind of drive from behind. He wants to be a little hollow in his shoulders. There, that feels better. There, that felt a lot better. So now we can go ahead and start speeding him up. And there's the lean we're talking about. That's okay. Ah, that was better. Go ahead and lope a circle right here and let him kind of get lifted here. And go ahead and lope a straight line, just nice and soft, so he doesn't think every time we turn this corner we're going to blast off. I'm going to turn the corner and let him just stay quiet, and he thinks we're going somewhere. There, that's a good response though. He says, okay, I'm with you. You're the pilot. So then I'm going to run him the other way. If he's running okay, I'll go ahead and pull the trigger and see what we're at in our stopwise. Right there, he didn't want to guide as well as I would have liked him to, so I'm just going to go ahead and guide him over. I want this shoulder to make a nice, sharp, clean, he didn't do it again, so we're going to do it again. I want this to make a nice, sharp, clean line right here. That was better. Well, we'll go ahead and roll back left. That was pretty good. Happy with that. I like how he waited on me for the rollback, and when I asked for it, it was nice and crisp and clean. Came through himself, and it was easy for me to ask. There was no begging. I'm gonna go ahead and let him walk for a second. And the next way is going to be the way that is the side that I feel like we need more work on, that because that right rollback's at the end. So that left, when I look at my patterns, like my NRBC pattern is pattern 6. So we're going to turn right, turn left, lope off on our left lead, which is going to put us on our left lead to stop to begin with, which is our first rollback will be our right rollback, which makes me a little more wanting to make sure that rollback's a little tighter. Not that I don't want it tight all the way around, but he's not going to have a left rollback to kind of guide him for his next rollback. He has to do it on his own. That right rollback, he's going to have to be completely solid on it and with me and thinking about it and not want to get nervous about it or want to back up through it. So that's going to be, as much as that run and stop is important, that rollback is the one that I'm worried about. I know he can run and stop. He's always been a good runner and a good stopper, so. And sometimes I'm jogging forward and rolling back off the jog and just kind of do it softly, but we're going to go ahead and check him. Just come out here without doing it first and see where he's at and see if he's just going to do it. That's because that's kind of the name of the game when we go to show. He's got to put maneuvers on top of each other and be able to execute them without a warm-up after you're in the pen. So we're just going to go ahead and do it cold and see what he's thinking. And if we have to school it, we'll school it. If he does good, we'll leave him alone. Right there, he's already kind of thinking like, okay, we're going to run and stop. So I'm just going to take a hold of him and tell him, nope, you're with me. And he's being a good boy. Right there, he's like, oh, we're going to run, which I appreciate, because when I go to show him, I want him to kind of carry me down the pen. I don't want him running off with me, but I definitely want him doing more work than I'm doing. I want him to know his job and think, hey, this is when we go run and stop. So it makes it easier for me that he's not guessing, that he kind of knows what's coming. But with that said, he needs to do it when I tell him to do it, not when he thinks it's appropriate. So again, right there, he didn't do anything super offensive. He kind of stiffened right there when I went to go ask him to guide. There, that's a lot better. We'll go ahead and let him run right here. He's leaning a little bit to the right. Just hollowing out there a little bit, not super offensive or anything, but I'm going to go ahead and school him for that, take a hold of him, and this time I'm going to make him run up into that. He could run, but he's got to carry me. Yeah, that was better. We'll do it one more time like that. Got to lean in and tripped over himself, which is kind of too bad because I really like the way that run felt. But at the end there, he got a little hollow and I took a hold of him and kind of surprised him, I think. So we'll see what he's thinking here. If he's running good, we'll go ahead and stop him and try that rollback. If he's not running, or if he's running without me. Whoa. Pretty happy with that, actually. That rollback was kind of guessed for a second, but he didn't do anything but listen and wait for me and then found it. And I didn't have to do much. We might run him one more time and get stopped one more time just so he doesn't think that we're going to roll back right away. We're going to let him think about that for a second. And then we'll go ahead and check it again. And as much as my compulsiveness wants to go back and make him roll back again, I'm not going to. I'm going to leave him alone on that because he did it really good. You know, coming straight out of his stall, not rolling back to the right at all. And then coming out, running a couple straight lines and then stopping and rolling back and putting that together without any lead into it I'm pretty happy with, because that was our sticky spot at the Derby. Just gonna loop a couple circles right here because he's anticipating that run. So in fact, I'm not gonna run and stop him because he's telling me I need to change my plan right now because he's thinking run and stop. So we're gonna just go ahead and turn this corner and roll up a couple soft straight lines. We might speed him up slightly, but he's not gonna run and stop like he thinks he's going to. Make him stay soft right here. Much fun as that run is there, that was really good. I went to go talk and he checked back to me. It means he's thinking about me. That's what we want him to do. And that was a very good turn. I'm very happy with that. Right there, I'm gonna check him back to me because again, he kind of took a hold of me right there and he's like, hey, let's go run. Again, I talk again and he checks back to me, which is good. But he shouldn't be thinking ahead of me in the first place. Now, I could pull him off right here, but I'm not going to. I don't feel like that's what he needs. I feel like he needs to just chill out. He's not doing anything offensive. He is coming back to me as soon as I pick my hand up. So I just want him to chill out. I don't want him to feel like he's gonna get in trouble for doing what I've been telling him to do, which is run. I just want him to think that he's not gonna run without me, and that's all. Oh, this is really good. Stay straighter right there. Good. And I'm gonna let him speed up just a tad. See where he wants to go with this run. And he sped up initially, but now he's waiting on me, which is fantastic. That's exactly what I want him to do. Right there, he kind of leans, so we're gonna take that shoulder from him right here. And that had nothing to do with any circumstances other than he's a horse and he was like, hey, I'm gonna make this corner without you. And then we're gonna do it one more time. Just let him cruise down there. If he cruises down there pretty good, I'll go ahead and say well and let him stop. But right now we're gonna take that from him right there. I don't like the way he turned that corner. I spend a lot of time turning my corners because if you don't get turned straight, then that can mess up your whole run. They can bow their body and keep leaning. So it's very important that he stays lifted, and he's lifted to go run and stop. Like right there, that was really good. Whoa. I was really happy with that. That was really soft. He loves this stuff. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of open my right leg and kind of point my body that direction. I want him to kind of follow that. He's got to stop itching and pay attention though to do so. There. It's stuff like that that I want him to kind of think about. So when I do go to show him, when I open that leg, and I can give him every chance that he follows it, which right there, that was good.